All right. Welcome to Maps 101, an introduction to mapping fundamentals. We're going to try to do a speed run here. I'm Havoc 616 and let's go. All right, starting off. Here's what we're going to be talking about. We have what are maps, why map, what is the Atlas, Zana's questline, how sustain, league mechanics, and then we're going to be talking a little bit about maps 1 and 2, and then we'll do a little bit of Q&A. So just to brief overview of today's lecture is it's going to be pretty basic, pretty bare bones, right? Because I don't want to overload people right away. This is aimed at, again, newer players. But after this video, you should have the bases, right? The Lego pieces, right? And then next class, we're going to start going into some real advanced topics and we're going to start combining things. I have left some basics out, such as fragments, for example, but that's all going to be in future videos and we're really going to combine stuff in future videos. So let's get into it. Let's go speedrun, Pog. What are maps? Maps are the main end game content. The randomized instance full of monsters and special events. In most cases, they come in various rarities and special affixes, and they're modifiable with currency, just like items. So they come in a 16-tier system. So we start with white maps, tiers 1 to 5, monster level 68 to 72. We have yellow maps, which are tiers 6 to 10. We have red maps, tiers 11 to 16. This is very important. Make sure you remember that. Okay, so why map? Let's ask a philosophical question here. Why do we map? Well, first of all, we're kind of trying to have fun. It's pretty important. But, we want XP, dude. We're pushing ladder. We want experience. We want to level up our character. We want to get stronger. All right, we want some loot. We want gear. So two important things about this. Certain item affixes require specific tiers. So in general, if you want a better rare gear or shaper elder gear, you're going to want to farm higher tier maps, or certain tiers, I should say. But on the note of higher tiers though, higher tiers is not always better, right? Sometimes it might be better to farm a lower tier if your goal is maybe not items, maybe your goal is currency or just uniques per hour type of thing. So higher tiers not necessarily equal more currency or uniques. And lastly, maps are essentially access to other content. So this could be in a whole video right here about player agency and how you got to do maps before you do another content, but we're going to save that for another video. But right now, in the current state of the game, you gotta do maps if you want to access the other juicy content. All right, let's go. Rarities, affixes, and tiers. So there are 4 rarities, just like items. You have your normal items, no affixes. You have major magic items, up to 1 prefix and 1 suffix. And you have your rares, up to 3 prefix and 3 suffixes, except for 1 condition, which I'll talk about in a second. And you have unique maps, which are map specific. So when can you have more than 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes? Well, if you corrupt a map with a ball orb, you can have up to 8 affixes and you get some real juicy maps. If you can pull that off. But that's a big setup and will be talked more about in Mapping 102. It's advanced strategies. All right, so some affixes are available in all maps. However, some affixes are tier or unique map specific. If you want a list of all the map mods, you can go to this link right here. I'll be linking the PowerPoint in the description below as well. So here's a couple examples. So generally, affixes increase in potency as tiers increase. So let's take the fecund prefix. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So in white maps, it's 20 to 29% more monster life. In yellow maps, it's 30 to 39% monster life. And red maps, is 40 to 49% monster life. So you see it's getting stronger. And believe almost all mods follow this pattern here where it makes the map more difficult. So essentially, these are easy maps, somewhat difficult, and these should be the hard stuff, depending on the build. So red maps also have specific affixes that only spawn on red maps. Again, tier 11 to 16. So we have hexproof, monsters are hexproof, aka they cannot be cursed, and of congealment, which is a suffix. So this is a prefix right here. And then generally you see an of, then it's a suffix. So kind of leech life and mana for monsters. These are generally kind of rare, but it's something to keep in mind. If you want to have a build that's viable for a lot of content. So, and last, we've got our unique maps. Our unique maps can have special affixes which are not normally available on normal maps. Such as unique bosses give 10,000% increased XP. Sounds badass, eh? Spoiler, it's not. Unique boss give 2,000 XP, dude. PogChamp. Spoiler, it's not. Bosses drop additional maps. Flash charges recover every 3 seconds. You got some really cool mods here. So this is just a quick sneak peek for you guys. So up next, just a quick overview. We've got shaper orbs. So we can upgrade the tier of a map. Remember, we talked about the 3-tier system. We got our white maps, our normal maps. Our normal map, white maps, yellow maps, and red maps. So shaper orbs, they work on T1 to T10. Basically upgrades level by 5 tiers, as it says on the orb. And the maximum tier is tier 10 to tier 15. So you can't go and make some random map tier 16. You can't make tier 17 or tier 22 maps or whatever, right? That would be pretty OP. Not possible. GG, unfortunately, they thought of that. And also, the other orb, also from the Zana questline, is the Elder Orb. It upgrades any map on the Atlas to tier 16. So that's pretty important to keep in mind. All right, so how can we describe our maps? Maps can be described by A, their tier, B, item quantity, map item quantity. This is very important. It doesn't say it here, but this is map item quantity and map item rarity. Then D, monster pack size, and E, their quality. Quality can be summed up with quantity, map item quantity, very important. This is different from player item quantity. Player item quantity affects all drops. Map item quantity only affects map. Well, let me rephrase this. This quantity here is the only way to increase your chance of getting map drops via quantity, and it will affect all the other drops in the map as well. However, normal player item quantity will not increase the chance of getting map returns. More on that later. All right, how do we modify maps? Well, we want to increase the map item quantity, as I just said, to increase map and item drops. Map item rarity increases the rarity of item drops. Maybe you want more unique items, more rares, whatever, what have you. And of course, monster packages increase the density of monsters. You have more chances to get map drops or XP or items in general. So obviously you kind of want to multiply all these together and good stuff happens. So map item quantity, item rarity, and monster packages are the sum of map affixes, quality, and league mechanics. So all these things can combine together to sum these. Also, affixes on non-unique maps can be modified by currency just like regular items. So maps are basically like regular items. Again, for non-unique maps, you can't really like reroll your unique maps other than some weird niche cases like Poor Joys with Divine Orbs and like stuff like that. Don't worry about that right now. So how else can we increase our quality in a map? Well, we increase it by up to 20% via Cartographer's Chisel. So normal map gives 5. So on a normal rarity, it goes 5% quality per chisel. Magic 2%, rare 1%, unique 1%. And it also is this very niche scenario which don't really need to worry about, but just just to include this tidbit because it is possible. You can get 30% quality maps via perfect fossils, but it's not really a normal thing people do. Almost like no one does this. So, but it's worth noting just like to be correct type of thing. So as you see, you kind of want to chisel your maps if it is the right decision to do at the time. And if you have available chisels when they are normal quality, because then it only takes 4 per to reach the max 20%. If you do magic, it takes away more. If you do it in a rare or unique, it's like 20. It's just, pretty expensive. Chisels get pretty expensive sometimes. So coming up next, what is the Atlas? Well, this is a nice picture of the Atlas. I guess some of you guys might remember this from the last video. So, we've got our maps. We got some Shaper influence, got a Stronghold here. Got our Elder influence, the tentacle stuff in the background. Shaper is a starry background. Got our red maps, our yellow maps, and our white maps in the corner. We got a Stronghold here. We have some daily missions as well, aka Atlas objectives spawning around. And we also got like some Guardians, got an Elder. It's pretty exciting stuff. More into this later. Oh, we got some unique maps around. That's pretty cool, huh? Very interesting. All right. Atlas is basically a map of maps. Wow, that's crazy, right? A map of maps. So it shows how many maps are linked. aka you start from the corners, you have your T1 linked to T2, T2 to T3, T3 to 4, etc., all the way up to T15 to T16. So essentially, it's you only go up 1 on the Atlas, on the map of maps type of thing. The Atlas also shows a map modifier, such as the things I just mentioned, Atlas objectives, influence, strongholds, sextants, etc. More on these later and in future videos. So Sextants, quick summary. Or actually a bit more on modifying the Atlas. Atlas is modified by Cartographer Sextants. And here we have an example right here. Area contains 3 additional clusters of mysterious burials. Pretty pog for XP, players can take reflected damage. Pretty nice running reflect maps. Areas contain additional packs with mirrored rare monsters. And, that's combos with this one. More mobs, aka more density, aka more chance of sustain. Really good stuff, You always want to use Sextants. Sextants are kind of like XP orbs. It's one way to look at it as well. Really cool stuff. They also have some special modifiers, which again, we'll talk about in the next video, where there's some really cool advanced strategies. So another way you can modify your Atlas, you can use a Shaper's Orb, +5 map tier, as we discussed earlier, and the Elder's Orb, which is any tier to tier 16, as a repeat. So a couple of ways you can mess around with your Atlas. You can unshape maps. Let's say you shaped the map, you don't like it anymore, you want to change it up, you can unshape it with a unshaping orb. Simple, costs 20 chisels, and 5 regrets, just sell it at a vendor. And also, let's say you want to remove a map from your Atlas. Then all you got to do is incomplete a map with a Cartographer's Seal. There's 3 types. There's Apprentice, Journeyman, and Master. Exact same name as the Sextants 2 that are used to create these orbs. So 3 Apprentice Sextants and a Scouring makes this one. 3 Journeyman, that one, 3 master, the red one. This is to remove the red, yellow, and white maps. So cool stuff. What else does our atlas do? Well, our atlas also affects map drops, and this is via bonus objectives. So what do bonus objectives do? Like, what does this number even mean? Like, does anyone know? Well, I'll tell you right now. So the bonus objective gives a plus 1% chance to upgrade the tier of a map drop. I'm gonna have an example of what this means later on too. So basically, it allows you to sustain higher maps. The more bonus you have, the maximum bonus is 159, and also it affects the maximum sextants. Again, more on this later. So bonus objectives are gained by killing the boss in magic or higher rarity in white maps, rare yellow maps, or rare and corrupted red maps. So you gotta get careful on these ones. These ones can get pretty spooky because you got vol the maps, and sometimes vol orbs have really strange outcomes. Didn't cover this too much in this video, but next video we'll be talking a lot about that. So that's how you get the bonus objectives, and you also get bonus objectives by completing unique map objectives. That's also how you increase your bonus. So what is the last way the atlas affects your map drops? Well, let's say you're running a map, it only drops unlocked or adjacent maps. Also, if you're mapping in a certain quadrant, maps around you have a very high chance of dropping. Let's say you're running bottom right, you really like running City Square or like Ashenwood or something. Well, you have a very high chance of only dropping, City Square and Ashenwood. Let's say those are the 2 maps you run. Even though you have every other T3 and every other T4 completed, you still have an increased chance of dropping those maps based on how the atlas works right now. So this is a quick example from a wiki. For example, you kill a rare monster in a tier 6 map with 125% completion bonus. A rare monster can drop +1 maps. As such, it can drop tier 1 to tier 7 maps. So I'll repeat that again. A rare monster can drop +1 maps. This is just the base, right? As such, it can drop tier 1 to tier 7 maps. And it will only drop maps that are adjacent or already unlocked in the atlas. So nothing new here, just something repeated from the last couple of slides. So let's say the map that drops is a tier 5 drop, and you're killing a rare monster. It's tier 5 from a rare monster. So the maximum that can come from the rare monster is a T7, no matter what, dude, no matter what. So a tier 5 drop. So we're already past the 100 mark, right? So again, we can go past 100% here, which is like pretty cool. You can get a +2 sometime. So it has a 100% chance to be a tier 6 if it comes from a tier 5 from a rare, and a 25% chance to get a tier 7. So that's pretty cool. Then let's say it was a tier 6 that drop. 100% chance tier 7, but it can't go any further because a rare monster cannot drop +2. It's only dropped +1. Let's say it's a tier 7, then this atlas bonus does just basically nothing for us, right? Because the map can't be upgraded any further if it dropped from a rare mod. So again, this example is on the wiki if you want to check that out. And just quick summary again, mod rarity affects max map drop tier. So normal is the equal map, magic or rare is equal to +1. Okay, if you're in tier 6 map, you kill a rare mob or magic mob, you can get a +1, aka T7. Or if you're killing the map boss, you get a +2. So you're in a T6 map, you kill a map boss, you can get a T8 map. So that's pretty cool stuff. I believe map bosses have, if I recall off the top of my head, I think it's 20% chance to drop a map every single time. It's not guaranteed to be a +2, but it's just any map. Someone in chat, feel free to correct me on that one. I think it's 20%. I need to look that up. So also, another cool thing about the atlas, certain sections of red maps can drop special bases. Now these bases have kind of fallen out of favor, but some of them are pretty good. So here's a nice big picture for you guys. You guys see the opal ring here? Again, if you want to farm opal rings, you got to go to these red maps. You want to farm marble amulets, you got these red maps, bone helmets, crystal belts, steel rings, blue pearls. I'll again link this in the description later if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, if you want to farm certain items, mainly these ones to be specific, then you got to farm certain red maps. That's something to consider in the future if you're doing a non-shaped atlas strategy. More on that later. All right, let's keep going. Zana's questline is also a really important concept to understand. We're going to keep it really bare bones right now, but next video, we're going to go really in depth on just how do we do it. So this is an end game. When you have a map device, right, you kind of gain these mods, these Zana mods that you can put on, right? So as you progress through Zana's questline, you unlock Zana mods. So this is a level 8 Zana, which is basically after you've done everything. So once you've done everything in the Synthesis League, the current league, you can have all this good stuff to mess around with. And we'll talk about some of these later on. So a lot of really cool stuff in here. Okay. So Zana's questline, what does it do? Well, it helps you unlock Shapers and Elder Orbs, like we talked about that earlier. Really important for farming the Pog maps. Very nice. It also allows Elder and Shaper influence to spawn. Again, very important if you guys watched the previous videos about how, Elder and Shaper influence, helps you with sustain, helps you get XP, helps you get items, helps you make money. It's really good stuff, right? And also allows Shaper Strongholds to spawn, which kind of like they're a helping hand with the Elder and Shaper influence. Again, more on that later, especially in 1 or 2. Honestly, this two right here, this could literally be its own video. It's like, you can write a book about that. It's like, and it's also like really specific on where you're doing it. So possibly next video or the one after that. So we'll see more about that later on. So quick recap on Elder influence. There's 2 really good ones. This is again when the map has the tentacle stuff around it. There's 2 really good ones here. You want the portals. Got a lot of mods from this and these things that really have map operates, and you got the squids, really nice for XP. So, and the third one is like the tentacles that randomly come off the ground and whip you sometimes. Doesn't really do much. So yeah, you have around 2 out of 3 chance, 2 out of 2/3 chance to increase the density of the map. Again, remember, density equals good. Density equals PogChamp. All right, then we also have Shaper influence. It's not as potent as Elder influence, but when you do get some Shaper spawns, you do get some cool mobs, kind of like the squids, and they're not as great, but they're good. They're good, and give you a bit of a boost as well. So, Shaper Strongholds. Another really important concept just to keep in mind for now. We'll be min-maxing this later on, but essentially permanent Shaper influence until you run this. This will never disappear unless you run it. Well, never disappear unless you complete Uber Elder, but that's not too important for now. Also, when you run this, it drops special items such as Horizon Orbs, Harbinger Orbs, more on those later in this video, along with Sextants, a guaranteed Sextant drop, or extremely high chance for one, along with a chance for league-specific unique items or unique item in general. So pretty cool stuff. Also, it blocks Elder influence. It's really nice for interacting with maintaining an Elder blob. It's very important to learn how this works early on. Okay, what else? Zana's quest line. So how does it kind of work? There's a very bare bones, very short summary here. So Shaper influenced T1 to T6 boss kills. You kind of want to do your Shapers. You go do your Shaper T1, you do Shaper T2, T3, T4, etc. And then you do your T6, and then you're going to unlock your T1 to T6 Shaper. This is where it starts. This is where the juice comes. And when you do the T6 map, you're going to notice this big giant guy with some tentacles from his chin just hanging. And he's going to be really spooky. That's the Elder guy. That's a really spooky dude. But that's where you get your first Shaper when you do this one. Your Shaper T6. Afterwards, your next T2 to D7, T3 to T8, your next couple Shaper Orbs, they're from doing Elder influence now, aka the tentacle blobs, T7 to T15 maps, aka you gotta kill the bosses. Killing the bosses is how you complete maps, per se. So, that's how you get the next couple Shaper Orbs. Again, we're gonna keep this very light for now, and we'll go more specifics later on. Alright, and finally, the last couple Shaper Orbs, aka the last fragments. They are from the Red Elder Guardians and Red Elder Kill. These unlock the remaining Shaper Orbs. There's exclusive loot, and to spawn these bad boys here, you need a 20 map Elder blob. So some of you guys are probably wondering right now, how do I know if my Elder is a Red Elder? How do I know if my Guardian's a Red Elder? So as long as your Elder spawns on a red map, aka tier 11 or higher, then your Guardians will be considered red, and your Elder will be considered red. So good thing to keep in mind. So after you get to this step, you're still not done, dude. Now you gotta close Shaper. What do you have when you close Shaper? You unlock the Elder Orb. This is where you can turn any map you want. You can turn your favorite map in the game into a tier 16 map. That's pretty cool. That's how you push ladder. And then you can also get more exclusive loot. They've been updating loot pretty recently, almost every league now. So that's pretty PogChamp. That's pretty exciting. And again, also gives you 1% Atlas bonus for the min-maxers out there. So that's pretty cool too. And lastly, we got the real bad boy, the real tryhard gamers are going to want to do this one. The Uber Elder Kill. So this unlocks your final Sextant. Also has exclusive loot, which they haven't updated. So really cool. And if you manage to kill Uber Elder, you're pretty badass. Real talk, if you can kill Uber Elder, you're pretty good at Path of Exile. So this is a pretty good goal to have if you want to go from 0 to hero. Even Shaper Red Elder is pretty good, but if you kill Uber Elder, you're actually badass. So that's something to think about. Maybe that's a cool goal for you guys. All right, more on that later. So, common question I get quite a bit. How sustain, Mr. Streamer? How do I sustain my map? What am I doing? So, again, I'll keep this really bare bones. Not going to talk about everything right now, but just some basic ideas. So there's 3 key components here. We can kind of TLDR this too. You want to, again, increase the quantity of the map. You want to increase the density of the map. This is kind of like a, so what do you mean outside the map? How do you increase the density outside the map? What does that mean? Well, essentially I'm kind of saying like league mechanics or other special modifiers that add zones outside the map, which might not necessarily scale with like initial quantity, but it basically gives you access to more monsters to kill, like again possibly give you more maps or maybe give you more currency, because currency is also maps or an XP, right? Again, that's another advanced video later on, how currency is XP. It's pretty cool. And also got some other things, some special things, such as Sextants, stuff like that. So it's also something we can talk about again. So note, the worth of various mechanics that I'm about to talk about are dependent on the economy. This matters as well. As even if you're playing SF, you still have an economy. It's just a single player economy, right? Or trade league, right? Like, is it day one? Is it 5 hours in the league? Is it 2 months in the league, right? This all changes the worth of various mechanics. Some of these things are worth doing early on. Some of these things are not worth doing early on. So that's something to consider. And I'll try to cover as much as I can, keeping that in mind, the time of the league that you're playing. Also, your currency acquisition rate is pretty important, aka the whole economy factor, and also your existing map pool, right? How many maps do you have, right? That's also pretty important to consider. What's your goal right now? What type of, are you trying to like do a specific league content? Are you trying to like sustain a certain map tier, right? This all affects like the worth of various mechanics. So it's a very complicated answer to how sustain, right? But we'll be going over that later on. And generally, if we want to be a big TLDR, if you want big returns, you want to make it easy mode, you want to essentially do as much as you can. You want the biggest investment as possible for big returns. This is almost, I want to say like 99% of the time, this is always worth it, right? And if you combine this with party play, aka to split the investment to get even bigger returns, oh man, it's insane, dude. Like you're in the money. A lot of people do this. However, I would like to say you do not need to play in a party. You can do the solo and still get big money. You just lose some specialization that you can get in group play. So again, you can still do the solo, and a lot of people do it solo, and you can just pop off, get the big returns. Okay. However, there's a downside. Big investment equals lots of preparation. There's a lot of downtime outside of the maps, right? Where you're preparing your maps, you're getting your bulk maps ready, you're rolling everything, you're getting all like your helping currency. So there's some downtime here, which kind of sucks, but it's kind of like a necessary evil type of thing if you want the big returns, so to speak. So again, more on this later on. So that's kind of the TLDR. Now I'm going to go into some specifics here about various stuff. Again, keep it very light just to get some basic ideas about it. So Sextants, talked about this before in the last video and in this video. Usually used to increase density and additional mobs. So we have some of the same Sextants here as before. We got our barrels, have a chance of having worms in it. Worms are really OP for drops and XP. We got our reflected mobs. You got our additional lightning monsters. There's a downside. You take more damage, right? So we've got some pros and we got our cons, right? So essentially more density, aka more chances of dropping maps, more loot, more XP, etc. So we sustain. So Sextants have a 5 Sextant cap, and to get all these Sextants, you want to complete all bonus objectives for white maps. So you have start with 1 base. Do it in white maps, you get 2. Yellow maps, you get 3. Your red maps, you get 4. And then you complete Xana's quest line, aka kill Uber other, aka if you're badass type of thing, or you can spy kill. So you get your 5 Sextant cap. So that's something to consider for later on. So we also have the base Zana Mod. So we're going back to Zana Mods now. So I'm going to be jumping between a lot of mechanics now. So this won't be too streamlined, but we're going to jump between a lot of stuff here. So we have their base Zana Mod adds 1 to 8% quantity based on Xana's level. So as you can see, this level 8 adds 8% quantity. Doesn't cost anything. It's pretty nice, Zana gains levels via her quest line, so not really much to do. It used to be off Master XP, but not anymore. So now we're going to talk about some league mods that you can possibly apply, or maybe it comes from like flashback or like some special event or just on the map itself. So Anarchy adds additional rogue exiles to a map. These guys can drop +1 maps. I believe they're considered rare mods. And the difficulty depends on the build. Early on, new league, let's say you're just like 3 hours in the league, you can get like absolutely destroyed. Even while leveling, you get destroyed by these guys. But eventually, they kind of start becoming face roll. And it's usually pretty quickly. You can get into like a stars line type situation where you get like 2 exiles, 3, 4, 5 exiles, and they just like all jump on you at the same time, and just like they're blasting you from behind, right? So that can happen, but most of the time it's fine. You blast them, so that's cool. So Onslaught, if it's in the league, monsters have 20% increased movement speed, 20% attack speed, and 20% increased cast speed. So a bit more spooky, but it's not too bad. It's pretty manageable, right? I think most people will be fine with this one. And also has 20% map bound quantity, so it's very affordable. Usually this costs around 2C. So it's a very affordable option. Domination adds a number of shrines for map. I believe it's 3 right now. It changes depending on whether it's a Zana Mod or whether it's from a league. But I believe right now it's 3. And the shrines are surrounded by large packs of monsters. So again, increasing density, right? It's gonna be a common theme here. We're gonna be looking at ways to increase density in or outside of maps, or increasing the quantity of maps, stuff like that. This is but one thing to keep in mind around Domination. It is bugged in some maps where sometimes, for example, Underground Sea, sometimes you get shrines with empty mobs, which kind of sucks, right? It's I believe the bug has something to do with when shrines spawn near the start of a map. They are the map code or the spawn code is something where objectives, you just don't want monsters to be on top of the portal, right? They don't have that perfectly down, but they don't want monsters on top of the portal, so you don't just go in the map and like move 1 centimeter and get booty blasted, right? That's why I believe that's why the bug is there. So that's something to keep in mind. Nemesis, adds additional rare monsters, really good. Here you can drop a headhunter, maybe you've watched Juice 101, dude. Maybe you're already pogging, right? Potentially. That's pretty cool. So monsters have a Nemesis mod. It's pretty low difficulty. They're pretty scary. Volatile can be scary, aka you kill a mob and this big giant red ball comes out, but it's not too bad. Very easy to dodge. Generally they're pretty easy stuff. Ambush adds a number of strong boxes to a map depending on if it is a Zana mod or a league mod. Also, you can get strong boxes via prophecies. Again, be spawned, which will be talked about in the next video, mapping 102. They're modifiable with currency and synergizes with prophecies and sextants. Yep, as I just mentioned. And you get some really cool stuff there. So you can also spawn a map strongbox. Okay, you can get a cartographer strongbox, and this is insane for map returns. However, I believe it has a maximum spawning level of level 79, so you can't spawn in the highest tier maps unless you get it in some outside of mapping, like outside of mapping zone type of thing, like an Incursion temple, which will be coming up soon. These are basically low difficulty. If you have a freeze flask, and then you either insta tank some of the mods, like some of the spooky mods from it, such as Ice Nova, or you just move out of the way. You open the box and you move. I personally YOLO every box. Some people, well, I'd say YOLO 90% of the boxes. There are some cases where you want to roll them, and we'll talk about that in the next video. All right, Invasion. It adds a number of unique mini bosses to the map, again, depending if it's from a Sextant, it's from a League mod, or it's from a Zana mod type of thing, right? There's a lot of variables here. So these bosses are surrounded by normal mobs, so it's a unique mob surrounded by normal mobs, and they're basically low difficulty. They're remnants of the past, right? Back in the day, these guys used to be so spooky, dude. Like, literally, people were dying at level 60, and now it's just like everyone was like complaining. It was like so hard. Some people were enjoying watching everyone get booting blasted, so that was kind of cool, right? But basically what happened is so many people complained that was just too hard that they ended up nerfing them, and now they just kind of like do nothing now. They're really just free loot, free money, free everything, right? So this is what Invasion is now. And they're pretty easy. So Beyond, this is the Pog one. Pog for money. Pog for fun, Pog for XP, in my opinion, right? We talked a little bit about this in the last video about how to maximize Beyond to get the juice. The juice is really cool. It's all about juicing your maps. Again, the juice in terms of momentum power. So must kill in close proximity, spawn portals, available from map rolls, Zana mods, and league mods. And to add a bit more here, when you spawn enough portals, it spawns monsters, aka increased density in the map. So available from these things right here. The spawn monster only magic, rare, unique. Pretty pog, right? And a bit more. Only unique Beyond monsters drop maps, aka sustain, right? So you want to build that can kill the bosses. That's pretty good to get some map sustain, right? Because it's not the best for returns otherwise. There's some better options here. And also synergize any mod for adds density. Again, really good. Density. More mobs, more juice, more everything. Early on, this is highly difficult. But later on, once their build gets popping, like it ends up becoming a joke, and you're the one popping off, and the monsters are scared of you. So that's something to consider there. So Torment adds a number of Torment spirits to a map depending on where it's from. They can possess rare or unique mobs or touch normal or magic mobs. The mobs touched or possessed have increased item quantity and item rarity. So that's something to consider. There's some weird ghost busting strats. If you maybe want to look that up, some people did some vacuum ghost arming. That's probably see some pretty good YouTube videos about that. But I believe that's all been patched and gone for now. So maybe if you see a ghost out, the big green spooky guys, really bad AI. See those guys walking around. Maybe you want to wait like 1 second before insta killing them and let them just touch some mods or get possessed in a rare. Because there are some specific ghosts that have some special drops. So that's something to consider if you just like let them touch some or possess some guys and then pop them, you know. And they're pretty low difficulty. However, you can get like multiple ghosts in a mob. I don't even know if there's a cap, because I think you get like 10 and 20 ghosts in a mob, and yo, these guys, they start multiplying together, yo, it gets real spooky real quick. You can like insta die, dude. Like one ghost is pretty manageable, then you guys start getting double, it starts getting like monk a W, and just like you get 3 is like monk I. It's really scary. Then like in the flashback coming up in like 2 months from now, if it's or if this turmoil or mayhem, my apologies, I believe you can get 20 ghosts in a mob potentially, and like I'm talking like where 5 is already like insta kill. You get 20, this mob is really teleporting across the map to get you. Depending on the base mob, so be really careful. Be really careful. So, oh, excellent. Repeat the slide twice. No worries. All right, going on next. Apprentice. Apprentice adds a number of apprentice chests to a map. Chests surrounded by mobs or mini bosses. Only the chests can drop maps. I do not believe the mobs can. The chests drop apprentice coins, and these coins are used to purchase items from an infrequent NPC named Kajiro. So when he does spawn, he has a chance of selling some like really cool items or maybe a currency at a deal. To buy the coins from. Coins are generally around like 100 to 1C, but that's, again, don't take that at face value. It really depends on the league. You gotta like know the eco, right? If you're playing a trade league. So, and you can potentially get some good deals, some steals here. You can buy items from them, you can flip them, stuff like that. Or maybe you buy something you need for yourself, or maybe you get a shav just playing the life build, you know, something to consider. All right, and this is pretty low to high difficulty, I would say, right? Low because most of the time it's easy, but early on, the bosses, some of the mini bosses, they can be pretty spooky if your build's not ready to handle it. So that's something to consider. So prophecy is pog champ. You can do a very long talk about prophecies. They're really pog, because a lot of prophecies, they either increase your density or increase your quantity based on whichever prophecy procs. A lot of really cool stuff here. Oh, and the downside is it's kind of tedious to get, right? They're hard to get, but there's some we can talk about that later on. So only a single prophecy may proc per map, and they're kind of low to high difficulty. It really depends what you get, and also depends on how is it synergizing with other mods. So more on that later. Yeah, in-depth coverage in maps 1 and 2. Prophecies are big. All right, essences adds number of essence monsters to a map. You know, they're centrally surrounded by normal or magic monsters, and they can drop essences used to craft items. So this is more for item crafting, not really for sustain. It's kind of low to high difficulty. I would not recommend getting hit, so a good advice in Path of Exile for almost all league mechanics is just don't get hit, dude. Like, if you're worried about dying, like, here's the thing, right? If you don't get hit, you don't take damage. So, and essence mobs is a very key time to remember that. Usually these mobs are pretty slow, but occasionally they can get like ghosted as well beforehand, before you even pop them. So they're kind of like frozen. You got to click on them and they pop open, and they have with their bad boys around them. And you just got to move away like really quick afterwards, and it's fine, right? Sometimes these mobs get really fast. They can have like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 essences in them, and it's just like, it's kind of like the ghosted mobs, the tormented mobs from earlier, right? It gets really scary, right? And let's say you get like a ghosted double essence guy. That guy's spooky. That guy might one hit you no matter what, no matter your mitigation. So, you know, potentially be careful. But most of the time, these like face roll, like close your eyes, insta-kill type of thing. Obviously, you know, good damage is always a good way to survive as well. So again, most of item crafting, but a bit of sustain here, Breach is pretty pog champ. So breach adds a number of breach hands to a map. What's a breach hand? Well, breaches, when you touch a breach hand, it expands upon being touched, spawning a large amount of breach monsters. A lot of breach monsters. Pretty insane for money. This is more of a money thing, less of an XP per hour thing, but really good for an XP per map type of thing. So that's something to consider. Also, they drop a specific type of currency, breach splinters. Every 100 splinters, you get a breach stone. Now we're getting we got our in-map density with breach, and we got our money from breach, and now we're getting out of map density and money from breach stones, right? So breach is a really pog champ in that regard. The only downside, which I haven't listed here, is the time it takes. Some breaches, they take a lot of time to spawn all the monsters, so that's kind of a downside because time is money, and you kind of need an open area to get full benefit out of it. So another thing to consider there. So breach stones are generally a fixed layout zone with monsters. Pretty easy to kill monsters, sometimes spooky though, and a unique boss. Unique boss has exclusive loot. So a lot of these mechanics have exclusive loot. I haven't really mentioned that in all these points here, but something to consider. And it's kind of low to high difficulty. For example, Ulnatal or Chayula, that can be pretty spooky depending on your build. That's for breach hands in the maps and the breach stones. Generally, you're gonna want a decent build if you want to kill the breach stone bosses too. They have a decent amount of HP, so something to consider. Also, we got Legacy League. Legacy League is currently retired, but it might come back later. You never know. They're essentially Sextants, but with 5 charges. They allowed access to old leagues. All leagues just talked about it, maybe future leagues in the future if this comes back. You know, it's a cool way to access old leagues. But they ended up scrapping this idea, and they replaced this with a thing called Scarabs, which are essentially Sextants but with 1 charge, which kind of sucks. It kind of feels bad, man. But more on that later. It's from Betrayal. So it's currently a retired mechanic, but hey, it might come back later and might be another cool way to access old leagues. So next up, we have Harbinger. It adds a number of Harbingers to a map. What's so good about Harbinger? Well, Harbingers drop currency charts and exclusive currency to the league. That's pretty cool, eh? So one of the currency orbs is Orb of Horizon. Really good for early map completion. Alternates map, gives you an alternate map of the same tier, right? So let's say I use this on like a tier 11 map. I will get a different tier 11 map after using Orb of Horizon. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And also the Harbinger's Orb. Harbinger's Orbs are Pog champ because it upgrades a map to the next tier. Really, really, really good for pushing Atlas early on. You know, let's say you want to do your Shaper or your Zana questline, right? You're trying to get your Shaper maps, your T16s to spawn Shaper. Harbinger Orbs are really nice for helping get there real quick. Pretty badass. So, also, when you upgrade a map, there's a chance you can create a unique map called the Beachhead. It's pretty badass. So there's 3 tiers of beachheads. You have your white beachhead, your yellow beachhead, and your red beachhead, right? Again, white maps, yellow maps, red maps. The white one is T5, the yellow one is T10, and the red one is T15. Again, so you got your in-map density via Harbingers. The Harbingers are kind of just like guys that are immortal. You cannot damage them, but they spawn monsters periodically, and by killing those monsters, you remove the Harbinger's HP, and eventually the Harbinger guy, he drops the currency shards. Now, we also get our out-of-map density via the beachhead. You know, we go in there and there's a bunch of Harbinger guys, a bunch of normal mobs, and there's like this really cool portal phase where it just spawns a million dudes and you just like AFK there and like the overjumps. It's pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. So yeah, really good stuff. And this is very lucrative for progressing Atlas and just sustaining maps in general, right? Maybe you don't really care about XP per hour, right? Maybe you just want to build the base. You want to be the base god. Well, this might be the mod for you, right? It's really good for money too. Like all these orbs, this is good stuff, man. We want some orbs I haven't really included in the notes. Just the ancient orbs, really cool for making cool, unique items, stuff like that. And yeah. Up next, we have Abysses. Abyss adds a number of Abyss cracks to a map. Drops Abyss jewels. This is more of a character thing. You want a craft thing. You generally do want high item level Abyss jewels, so maybe you're like, hey, I want to make money. Money is currency, money is XP, right? Maybe you want to somehow get Abyss on your map, maybe a Sextant, maybe a Zana Mod, maybe via something else, right? Something to consider. Sometimes it makes you money. Also, Abysses, they can also spawn Abyssal Depths. Abyssal Depths is generally a zone which drops a rare Stygian belt. There's like a big totem dude at the end, and he spawns like a bunch of mobs, and they can get pretty spooky down there. But if you kill them, which most people should be able to do if their build's decent, and everyone's build's pretty decent nowadays, power creep, am I right? He drops a rare or normal Stygian device that you can craft, and you can put it has an abyss socket for an abyssal jewel. So now you can put jewels on your gear, also in your pass tree. That's pretty cool. The zones are +1 tier higher, so that's pretty nice. You get a bit more XP, stuff like that. It's not really for the XP, it's more about the money, but it's also cool. And there's also a chance you have a unique boss instead of a totem guy, and this guy drops exclusive loot. Some really cool abyss items. So maybe you want to check the wiki, explore some of that stuff. It's a pretty low difficulty near the end, like once your character's popping off, but like again, early on, like a lot of these mechanics go, it can be pretty high difficulty. So that is something to consider. Especially if your character's weak or you don't have a lot of physical mitigation. They do a lot of physical damage. There's one particular abyss mob. It kind of goes invisible, and like when it comes out of invisibility, it like dual strikes you. So that guy does a lot of damage. You have to be really careful or a really fast reflexes against that guy. Physical mitigation is highly recommended. So Bestiary adds a number of rare yellow and red beasts to the map. The yellow beasts aren't too bad, but the red beasts can get pretty spooky. So this is kind of like a crafting league type of thing, right? You kill these guys. They do have pretty decent drops. They're not insane for drops, but they're decent for map drops. Although they're kind of cheesed right now because there's an NPC called Einhar, and if you kill multiple at the same time, right? You kind of queues it up and you gotta wait for him to like catch the beasts, right? So the reason he catches the beasts is so you can put them in your bestiary crafting place, aka your menagerie, and you can do some pretty cool crafts, mostly for item creation, but there are some that affect maps, you know. That's something to consider. I also can give you access to special boss counters, aka more exclusive loot. And Yeah, red beasts I'd say are closer to the high difficulty type of thing, but even like later on, once your build's popping off, it goes more to the medium to low. And the rares are usually, it's maybe they start at a medium, then it goes down to low. That type of thing. I wouldn't recommend facing them. So incursions are pretty sick. Incursions are pretty sick if you're all about making the mods, building the base. So incursions they essentially offer in-map density and out-of-map density via incursion temples. So I haven't really explained it too well yet. But essentially, there's these incursions are like a zone you go inside to in a map. It's like Alva is the NPC, and she takes you back in time. It sounds kind of crazy, but if you want to read the lore, if you're a lore guy, you can read up about it. But she takes you to a zone. There's like 2 bosses in there. You pick the boss, and depending on the boss you kill, it changes the outcome of the room in the future type of thing. So after every 11 incursions, you spawn an incursion temple. This is your out-of-map density. Whereas your incursions are your in-map density, which is a maximum of 3 right now, I believe. And they have really high, the scales really well with Magic Find. So if you want to make some money, maybe you're short on like jewelry for Chaos Recipe, this is, incursions are a really good thing to consider. A lot of money this way, a lot of money. And again, the incursion temple, may contain a map room, really good for sustain, and it's a gigantic, dude. Temples are huge. They're not the best for XP per hour, but like, hey, if you're really struggling with the base, this is something to consider, right? You connect all your rooms, you make a giant temple, and like, you kill some mobs, hey, you got a base going. Something to consider. Again, not best for XP per hour, but pretty good for building base. And I'd say it's around medium difficulty. Again, for all builds, everything gets to low difficulty once you're popping off endgame, right? But just generally early on, just like, even for like stronger early characters, all the mobs are resistant in there. They're pretty spooky. It's a really tight, if there's any death effects, it's really hard to maneuver. The bosses are really tanky in there. So you need a lot of single target. You need a nice build. And high level maps can get really spooky too. So definitely need to be careful when you're doing this, but it's really good. It's really good. So Delve. Delve is, for a lot of players, this is PogChamp, and for many people, they want to only delve. However, we're currently not at that state of the game yet. We can't only delve. As I mentioned earlier at the start of the video, maps are the gateway to other league content. So you still got a map to do the delves right now. You could get your sulfite via a story, but not yet. So delves are essentially outside of map density or XP, right? And how do you access it? You access it with sulfite. How do you get sulfite? Well, Delve essentially adds number sulfide veins to map. Right now, most people get it via random stuff, but you can also get it via forced spawns, via prophecies, or scarabs, for example. Even Sextants too. It's also one thing to consider. So there's no in-map density with Delve, which kind of sucks, right? But don't worry, it's fine. You get the sulfite, and it actually lasts you quite a while. It gives you a lot of out-of-map density, a ton of out-of-map density via delve zones. And there's these special delve zones called abyssal depths and cities and stuff like that. And they have these chests inside them that they drop insane amount of loot. And when I'm talking loot, I'm talking money, I'm talking map drops. It's just really crazy for making months. You get deep, you can like make infinite tier 16 maps, which a lot of people want to sustain. So it's something to consider for the future. Again, extremely lucrative with high time and monetary investment. Monetary investment being, maybe you invest in scarabs, maybe you invest in mechanics that increase the quantity of sulfide veins per map that you're running. So, and again, time. It takes a lot of time to get deep. You're just digging underground, right? So it takes a lot of time to get there. But once you're there and you can start going sideways at a certain depth, it's very profitable. And I'd say it's about around medium to high difficulty, because as you go down, the delve is an infinite dungeon, right? Like it is worth going to like almost the impossible tiers. There's a lot of money down there. Like literally exalts are just sitting by almost every node, but you need a very nice build, sometimes even a cheese build to pull that off. So if you really want to try hard, dude, this is something to consider. But this is a big investment for the super tired stuff, but kind of a medium or so investment if you want to get to like depth like 270, 300 type of thing. You just want to go sideways. So highly recommend this for a lot of people, especially playing us stuff. All right, then almost done, boys. We're almost done. We got Betrayal. Betrayal adds a number of betrayal counters to a map. So this is kind of like Rogue Anarchy from before, but it's like upgraded version of Anarchy now, right? Adds a number of betrayal counters to a map. Essentially, so it's like exiles, so I call them betrayal bosses here. They have really good map drop rate, so after you kill them, there's an option between do you help them, do you interrogate them, do they betray their homies, do you do nothing? But they drop a lot of loot, a lot of currency, and a lot of maps. There's really good stuff. So you got that in-map density via just like, sometimes there's dudes hanging with the bosses, some normal mobs. You get some in-map density that way, and also the bosses just have really good map properties in general. And they have decent XP too, even though they're just a boss. And also you get the out-of-map density via Betrayal safe houses, which are kind of like incursions and other mechanics. Depends on the map level you're doing, and they can spawn at very high levels. So that's something to consider. And it's a very lucrative with high time investment. So if you want to sacrifice some short-term XP or other stuff, and you want to like min-max it and just like really like play you know, with your checkerboard or, you know, your board game type of thing, it's kind of like a board game almost. It's really worth it. You can do some really cool stuff and synergizes with a lot of other league mechanics. More on this later. But yeah, very good thing to consider. And I'd say it's around medium to very high difficulty. And this is the first very high difficulty that I have, right? Because tier 16s, these bosses, man, like even with no map mods, they do insane amount of damage. Like I've seen characters with like over 10,000, like energy shield or HP, and they just get insta-deleted. And just like, damn, son. So you got to be on your toes when you see you get betrayals in high level maps. So they do have a downside here. And they kind of just like, they're generally just kind of always hard. Eventually, you know, you do kind of delete them, but overall, they're generally one of the harder things in Path of Exile in terms of difficulty compared to other stuff. Lastly, we're at our current league. So, Synthesis adds number of memory fragments to a map. There's another crafting league type of thing. So you get in-map density via memory fragments. However, these memory fragments don't always have the best layout, and they're kind of annoying to run, and the map properties aren't too crazy from them. So it's kind of like, yeah, I really want to do it, but like you kind of do it anyways, because otherwise you don't really have anything else to do right now. That type of thing. So you do them, and then with these memory fragments, you can get out-of-map density via the memory nexus. So it's kind of like Delve, right? So it's a mix of Delve Incursion is what we got going on here, right? You got your zones in every map, a single zone in every map, aka a memory fragment. It has a bunch of mobs in it, drops loot, etc. And then you kind of go to your Delve, where instead of bringing sulfite with you, you're bringing your memory fragments, which have a maximum of 10. With your memory nexus, and then you play around. It's not kind of like a board game type of thing. And it is very rewarding if you spend a lot of time like min-maxing it, or just like understanding how to play it quickly type of thing. But it can be quite frustrating to figure it out at first, and a lot of players kind of feel like they're wasting their time. But if you can figure it out and get past some of the negatives, then it is worth it. But you know, it's up to you whether you want to do it. And I'd say it's around low to very high difficulty, right? Like, you know, the memory fragments are pretty easy themselves. Sometimes the mobs inside are OP, but the fragments inside the memory nexus, they can get pretty crazy. They can get like triple damage, triple like haste, and like penetration, and just like the mobs in there, they will booty blast you. And also the bosses in there, you know, again, exclusive loot, all that cool stuff. They can get really spooky. It's a very big complaint right now. Some people are saying, yo, dude, just get good, don't get hit, and play a nice build. Other people are saying, baby rage, wham, I can't kill the boss, dude, it's too hard. Why it's like that? So you can take that as you will. I'll let you make your own decision on that argument, but they can get pretty spooky, dude. They can get pretty spooky. Something to keep in mind. So, I accidentally repeated this again, but that's okay. And also, so that was kind of the quick overview for today. Very basic. Just talked about some league mechanics. We talked about, you know, some Zana's quest line. Talked about basic map rolling, basic map trails. Really basics. Next class, we're going to start going some advanced topics, dude. We're going to advanced topics, and now we're really, you got the basic Lego pieces, and we're really going to get the gears turning now. So we're going to talk about combined league mechanics, sextants, etc. We're really going to actually talk about specific strategies players today are running right now. No more of the like, just explain everything type of thing. Now we're talking specific strategies. What's OP, what's not OP, what sucks, you know, stuff like that. That's coming up next. The next week is going to be pretty PogChamp, right? And like, I'm going to give you exact stuff, what to do, what you can do, depending on the league, depending on the time league. It's going to be pretty crazy. I'm going to try to give you a bit of a framework, which I kind of did today, but maybe a bit more about how to understand future league mechanics, right? How can you evaluate a future league mechanic for your potential wealth, your potential XP, just like a lot of the stuff like that. We can give you a bit of framework there. Furthermore, I'm going to talk about how can you pick a specific Atlas setup, because, you know, I gave you a lot of fundamentals on how the Atlas works. I didn't really give you any setups, right? Like, how do you pick which one to do? So this is very important. And also, some specific guides are going to be for, you know, tier 3, tier 6, tier 11. I'll talk about why I chose these 3 as my example here. You know, the shape T11, T16 strat, a very historic strat here. A lot of people still do. So we'll talk about this one. You know, shape T15 and T16. Got our Elder tier 16, also a very important one. You know, got our 4 sextant strategies or 5 sextant strategies. We're gonna go really in depth about a lot of this stuff. So next week is gonna be in depth exact strategies. We're ditching the basics now. We know the basics now, and we're gonna like break the rules. We're gonna do some really cool stuff. So that's gonna be pretty exciting. So without further ado, if you guys have any questions, let me know. This is the end of today's lecture. I hope this was a good overview for you guys. Next class, we're really gonna pop off. Teacher, when's the test? It's coming. Just any day now. Any day. When is next week? Next Friday. When's the pop quiz? 5 minutes. The template will be shared in PowerPoint Quadric. Why are an outpost in Delve called Juice Bars? You told me. That's a pretty good name. Homework? No homework. You can study as much as you want. Favorite League mod that isn't Beyond? That isn't Beyond. That's actually a hard question. Because I feel like I only like Beyond. So what else has like map mods? Or maybe Domination. I think Domination is pretty cool. Harbinger's pretty cool too. I'm seeing was the league best Zana mod for sustain. For T16s, Harbinger's pretty good for sustain straight up. But if you had a lot of density, Beyond's pretty PogChamp too. Harbinger's like generally the best one. Should I delve deep? Left or right? Doesn't matter. Last week no homework, this week no homework. I mean, I'm not the guy. If I was a teacher, I'm not going to enforce homework, right? Like, you can study as much as you need to. Different people have to study at different levels, right? Some people don't have the time to study, you know. It's just how good you want to be, right? Do I like synthesis personally? Not really. It's more of a crafting league type of thing, right? The actual density is kind of it's not my thing. I'm kind of looking forward to next league, a more simple league. What's the usual depth to start delving to the side instead of further down? I think it's around 83 zones, right? I can't remember. I think it's around 230 or 270. Somewhere around there is when you start going sideways. And you can go a bit deeper. So cities, aka the juice bars, the juice outposts, places with crazy map drops and money drops and stuff like that, they do have increased frequency the deeper you go, but difficulty does increase as well. So I think around 600, the frequency of cities caps out. First having our friend told me to install this thing called loot filter on LS61, but no loot is dropping. Any buy stuff for people down. So when does the loot start dropping? Sounds like you have a loot filter that hides everything. That's not good, dude. That's not good. You gonna celebrate the holiday tomorrow? What holiday? I'm pushing ladder, dude. I'm streaming tomorrow, dude. 243. Step 33. Why is a group of squids not called a squad? I don't know. Ask whoever made the English language. When are we popping off on the new ladder? So there is a race on May 10th. I'm doing a private league today, but that's more of a casual type of thing. Casual all mods, super difficulty type of thing. And then new leagues in June. There's also some races on May 5th and April 27th. All right, I think this is I think I've answered some of the meme questions, some of the basic questions right now. So if you guys have any more questions, just feel free to comment below in the video. You know, if you enjoy this type of content, like, if you like the video, you know, subscribe if you want to see when new content is coming out. And again, if you have suggestions for future content, comment below. You want a video about a specific topic, comment below. You have a question on today's topic, comment below. A lot of this stuff will be answered in the next video, the advanced stuff, but do consider that in the future. Without further ado, I'm Havoc616. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.